Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to the episode of the GSMC Wrestling Laureate podcast brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. I'm your host, Eric Rodriguez, here every Monday through Friday, 8 p.m. Pacific Time, 11 p.m. Eastern Time, here to talk about everything that is to know about the world of professional wrestling. Hope you guys had a great Friday. It is Friday, guys. Those, weekend warriors out there, guess what? You know, uh, tonight's the night to, watch the World Series. Hope you guys are watching it. It's the top of the ninth. I last time I checked it was the ninth. It's tied 2-2. Dodgers, Yankees. I picked the Dodgers in five. Obviously, that's my opinion. Obviously, you Yankees fans out there, and it's not that I'm like hating on the Yankees because my wife, she's a huge Yankees fan. But I don't know. I just don't want to see her getting her heart broken, and like I don't know. She's so invested in these games, and I'm just like, you know what? I hate it, but I know the Dodgers are gonna win. It just basically the main question is how many games it's going to take, because the Dodgers, in my opinion, feel like they have way more consistent hitters than the Yankees. Giancarlo Stanton, Juan Soto, also Aaron Judge. But on the Dodgers side, you got Freeman, you got Betts, and then you also have Shohei Ohtani. And I don't know. It seems like in the big spots, Giancarlo Stanton kind of shrinks a little bit. But of course, obviously that's my opinion. This is a wrestling podcast, so let's start talking about some wrestling. We have a great show for you today, all lined up. We're going to talk about some WWE Smackdown preview. We're going to talk about, give you guys some hot takes, maybe some of my predictions. And then we're going to talk about my Thursday night wrestling review. We're going to talk about Ring of Honor TNA. And then we're going to talk about, in our third segment, we're going to talk about NXT Halloween Havoc. In our fourth segment, we're going to talk about Mercedes Moné. Names her top 5 fantasy matches. We're going to get into that. And then our fifth and final segment, something we do every Friday. I want to give you guys my wrestling news roundup. Just giving you guys some wrestling, headlines. That's obviously all over news media in terms of professional wrestling. I want to, give you guys some of my hot takes on that, and just something to ponder over the weekend. But of course, before we do any of that, I want to remind you guys to go ahead and hit up the tips and donations link. Also, hit up that super chat. Whether if you got a burning question you want to ask during the show, or if you got a hot take in terms of professional wrestling here at the GSMC Sports Network, we do love a lot of peace, love, and positivity 1,010%. So do not be shy. This show is all about keeping the conversation going, making sure you guys feel like your hot takes are part of the mix. Also, feel like that you guys, this is our podcast more or less. It's our wrestling podcast. It's not just me yelling at the mic for like an hour, which would be exhausting. Definitely love a lot of audience engagement, 1,010%. So do not be shy. Don't feel like anything you guys put in the chat will be judged here at the GSMC Wrestling Laureate podcast. Is a judgment-free zone. I don't want to, appeal, to all that Planet Fitness out there, but we're gonna coin it here. I'm just kidding. Don't want to get sued. But overall, just feel comfortable. Absolutely drop anything you guys feel like inside that chat. And if you really, really, really want to make sure your comment, question, or hot topic or hot take gets noticed on air, why not use that super chat? It's that $sign below with the chat box. Anything you put inside that box will be featured on the show, talked about. And if it's a hot, juicy topic, maybe we can actually debate about it. We can have some fun. Obviously, go ahead and send in your message. Obviously, donating supports the channel, the GSMC Sports Network. We definitely pride ourselves on satisfying you, the audience, making sure that you guys feel like you are well nourished in terms of anything that you guys desire in terms of your sport content. And we have a bunch of passionate podcasters who are dying to do that. Who are dying to make sure that you guys, get all the hot news around, baseball, basketball, football, and basically anything. In this case, professional wrestling. So, don't be shy. Go ahead and drop it inside that thought. And if you guys, obviously, thank you in advance. First and foremost, thank you in advance. We are super grateful for each and every one of you guys who joins us here daily on the GSMC Sports Network. Your support makes all the difference. So let's keep the conversation going. Let's get this party started and send in those super chats, those super stickers, because you guys are super awesome. And together we will make sure this podcast is bigger, better, and stronger than ever. Once again, it's super chat, not your thing. It's all cool, man. It's all good. Go ahead and hit up the tips and donations link at the gsmcpodcast.net. Shoot me your comments, questions, and concerns. Tell me what you like. Tell me what you don't like. Just remember, to Superman punch that like and subscribe button to the show. Follow the show, follow the network here at the GSMC Sports Network. We do love a lot of peace, love, and positivity 1,010% of the time. But of course, in terms of talking sports, it's inevitable. There's going to be some disagreements, different takes. It's going to be criticism. So obviously, whatever you guys put in the chat, feedback is a gift. So I'm definitely excited to hear what you guys have to say. So once again, we are wide open. Don't feel too shy. Go ahead and drop in any kind of any kind of thoughts or feelings inside that chat. All right, we have WWE Smackdown tonight. First and foremost, going to be live from the Barclays Center in Brooklyn, which I love, I feel like the Barclays Center is a huge part of the history of WWE. Obviously, I think that was the first ever Monday Night Raw that was aired. WWE SmackDown, returning to the Brooklyn venue is, I feel like there's a lot of things that happen. I don't know if it's just my, maybe it's just, what is the word, like a coincidence, or maybe it's just like a manifest destiny that I feel like every single time these guys jump into this venue, something big, something that you got to wrap your head around happens, and you're like, the shock factor will blow your mind kind of thing. So I feel like tonight's SmackDown's gonna be pretty huge. Obviously, last week you had Cody Rhodes inviting the WWE World Heavyweight Champion Gunther to their show, so it's going to be interesting to find out these two going at it. Recently, you've seen at a WWE live event in Manchester, England, you saw these guys tank center stage, standing in the middle of the ring, talking about, their match at WWE Crown Jewel. Not much, crap talking, not much, I don't know, just not much. Like, I don't want to say this because I don't want it to sound bad. Not really that much theater play. You more or less kind of have these guys be like, you know what? May the better man win. Mutual respect. I don't want it to get to the point where I feel like you kind of have to choose sides between Gunther and Cody Rhodes because, this whole new concept that Triple H introduced at WWE Bad Blood, that we're going to have the WWE Crown Jewel Champion for the men's and the women's. That's all cool and all. It's a nice shiny belt. But all in all, I just don't want it to affect the storyline, I guess you can say. If a superstar gets too humble, or maybe somebody on the other side of the spectrum gets too hot on it, and they just want to throw their character away to be like, okay, let's just start trash talking. Let's just start talking mess. We're just gonna just start babbling on aimlessly, and it's supposed to make sense at the end of the day, which could definitely kind of hurt a superstar if they're trying to do that. So tonight, I don't really want to see Gunther come out and be like, Cody Rhodes, you're this and that, and you're the other. So I don't know. I just want these guys to kind of go at it. I want them to be like, what, made the better man win. Raw or SmackDown, and, let it be that. So definitely, that's going to be in the books. The Motor City Machine Guns. Excuse me. Got their first win and their first, shot at tag team gold inside the WWE squared circle. They're set to face off against Tommaso Ciampa and Johnny Gargano to find out who's going to be that number one contender to take down, the Tongans. Tamatonga Tangaloa. I feel like, recently on WWE Monday Night Raw, you saw Jey Uso lose his WWE Intercontinental Championship. So I feel like, and obviously this might be just like a hunch that I have, that I feel like WWE wants all these superstars to get into this bloodline civil war without titles, without championships, which is the right thing to do. And the Motor City Machine Guns, they could possibly be that answer. They can. Definitely 1,010%. Shelly and obviously Saban, they have the talent to do so. And then also DIY too. DIY was, they were the champions, and then you saw the Tongans come in and, they beat them. So I want to see DIY regain the tag team titles, and I want to see the tag team division on Monday Night Raw kind of, you know, on SmackDown, even on Monday Night Raw. You know what I mean? I feel like the tag team division in WWE is kind of like a lack thereof. But I don't know. It all starts tonight. It all starts tonight. I think DIY will pick up the victory, and that's just in my opinion. They're going to put the belts back on Tommaso Ciampa and Johnny Gargano because they're absolutely sensational inside the ring. Their match with the Motor City Machine Guns, they could definitely make they can make a mark in WWE. It doesn't necessarily have to be now. Just because they're a brand new, brand spanking new. It's like when you get a brand new toy and you play with it all the time and it becomes your favorite toy and you want to do this and that and the other, you want to take it to the store with you and, and all that kind of jazz. But I feel like, WWE could keep it on the back burner. A lot of people know that this tag team is, very, very good. So I want to see DIY regain those WWE Tag Team Championships. Just kind of start fresh. It's kind of start fresh. All right, we also have Carmelo Hayes, who is, fighting in Game 7 tonight with Andrade to find out who's going to, at a potential shot at LA Knight's United States Championship. Obviously, these three men have been, in and out of promos with each other and matches and stuff like that. So, I don't know. It's just kind of crazy. We are 8 days away from crowning the first ever Crown Jewel champion. Maybe, Liv Morgan comes and, she infiltrates Nia Jackson. Maybe we'll get a little bit more clearance on if Tiffany Stratton is going to, basically, is she going to put up a fight against Nia Jax? Because as of right now, I don't buy it. I feel like Liv Morgan has no chance at Nia Jax. The only reason why I feel like they would put these two people, these two titles, matches together, I feel like is to have Tiffany Stratton kind of have this, you know, I feel like to kind of have this heart to heart talk with herself that's going to be like, look, like, Nia Jax, she's been kind of been treating me like crap. She's been treating me like crap. I'm a huge star in WWE. I'm Mrs. Money in the Bank, baby. So I think it's fitting. And Tiffany Stratton has to cash in on Nia. She just has to. She just has to at WWE Crown Jewel. Why would you do it with Liv Morgan? Liv Morgan has her storyline with Rhea right now, with Raquel. Obviously, more things are to come with Monday Night Raw. Just kind of leave that kind of sector alone. I kind of said it on my way too early WWE Crown Jewel predictions. I basically said if Tiffany Stratton cashes in successfully on SmackDown, I mean on Nia Jax, then she can stay on SmackDown. If she doesn't, then she should probably go to Monday Night Raw. She'd probably move to Monday Night Raw. Nia Jax, is going to be really furious that Tiffany Stratton tried to cash in on her, but then failed. So then we're just going to see back to back to back to back weeks and episode of SmackDown with Tiffany Stratton kind of being bullied by Nia Jax. So nobody wants to see smash match after smash match after smash match of Nia Jax destroying Tiffany Stratton, because overall that could destroy Tiffany's push. That could destroy her character. So I feel like right now in terms of WWE, Tiffany Stratton needs to, she needs to win the championship. That's just basic. She needs to win the championship. She's definitely been one of the most exciting Mrs. Money in the Bank, in a long time. Obviously, I did love, when Carmelo was Mrs. Money in the Bank. I thought it was pretty cool. But I don't know. Tonight's Friday Night SmackDown is going to be super exciting. Can't wait to watch it. All right, so now we're going to talk about my Thursday Night Wrestling review. We're going to talk about TNA Impact and Ring of Honor. So do not go absolutely anywhere.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign.
I wanna be the greatest. Everybody on the fake shit. I look around and feel like everybody is the fakest. I make this every day and I'm impatient, hoping one day I blow up from the basement. Statement, the top is so vacant. I don't hear shit that I think is amazing. Waiting for my day when I'm playing sold out shows for 1,000 faces. Hey, give me that crown, get in my way and to be put down. It ain't your place, all this my town. If I want that shit, then I'll get it right now. I'm losing it, the noose it fits. Some losing shit, a stupid myth. You choose to live or choose to dip. You choose to fight or lose your grip and lose a gift.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind?
All right, we are back with the GSMC Wrestling Laureate podcast brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. I'm your host, Eric Rodriguez here, your favorite wrestling fan, here to talk about the greatest thing in the world, professional wrestling. We talk about all the action inside and outside of the ring. We talk about superstar news, updates, injury statuses, and stuff like that. We talk about promotions from WWE to AEW to TNA to New Japan Professional Wrestling to Stardom to the GCW to the I don't know if I didn't say Ring of Honor already. But if it makes major news in the world of professional wrestling, we talk about it here on this show, 1010%. So yeah, make sure you guys tune in. All right, just kind of reflect on what we talked about real quick. We had our WWE Smackdown preview slash talk, and now we're gonna go ahead and talk about some Ring of Honor and TNA. But before we do absolutely any of that, I want to remind you guys to go ahead and hit up that super chat. Obviously, if you have a burning question or a hot take in terms of the world of professional wrestling here at the GSMC Sports Network, we are absolutely all ears, 1010%. This show is all about keeping the conversation going, making sure you guys feel like your voice is part of the mix. Don't be shy to drop your thoughts inside that chat. And if you really, really, really want to make sure your comment, question, or concern gets noticed on air, why not use that super chat? It's that $ below the chat box. It guarantees absolutely anything that you guys put inside that box is going to be featured on the show 1010%. Also, it's a great way to kind of keep the lights on in terms of a lot of these podcasts on the GSMC Sports Network. It supports us a lot. So, it's going to keep this content that you guys, absolutely love coming at you, Monday through Friday. So make sure you guys, make sure you guys donate. We are super grateful for each and every one of you guys. First and foremost, thank you. Thank you in advance for your attention. First and foremost, definitely love you guys watching the content. And of course, your support makes all the difference. So let's keep the conversation going. Let's keep this party going. And, send in those super chats, those super stickers, because you guys are super awesome. And together we will make sure this podcast is, bigger, better, and stronger than ever. Once again, at the super chat, not your thing. It's all good. Go ahead and hit up the super chat. Go ahead and hit up the tips and donations link at the gsmcpodcast.net. Shoot me your comments, questions, and concerns. Tell me what you like. Tell me what you don't like. Just remember to Superman punch that like and subscribe button to the show. Follow the show. Follow the network here, the GSMC Sports Network. We do love a lot of peace, love, and positivity 1010%. But of course, in terms of talking sports, it's inevitable. Criticisms happen. Disagreement happens. Feedback, whatever it is a gift 1010%. So do not be shy. Drop your thoughts inside that chat. The show is a hell of a lot better with a lot of audience engagement. So yeah, don't be shy. Just do it. Make it like an Ike and just do it. All right, so we have my Thursday night wrestling review. Let's start off with some Ring of Honor. Honor Club aired October 24, 2024. So obviously, it was a good episode. I overall, watching the highlights and stuff like that, I thought it was, I thought it was pretty dope. A lot of stars that, obviously shined. There was a recap of, the unfortunate event that Chris Jericho claims the Ring of Honor World Heavyweight title on AEW Dynamite, which was, I wasn't a huge fan of it. I think Chris Jericho is, he's aging. He's also getting to that point in his career where I feel like, it's best that he kind of helps a lot of young superstars, kind of, get over. So to speak, kind of like John Cena during his late age and during his late run in WWE. Kind of like when you saw Kurt Angle come back, try to make an in-ring comeback, and then you have people like, Baron Corbin beating him, so that could be a huge reason of why I felt like, Chris Jericho could have lost to Mark Briscoe because I don't know. Mark Briscoe was basically the face of Ring of Honor, and it just made sense. And now you have Chris Jericho, the leader of the Learning Tree. I personally feel like, that's not exactly what Ring of Honor is or how it should be. He was a great champion. He was a great champion. Over and over again, I expected Mark Briscoe to drop the title to Kyle Fletcher, maybe to, like Roderick Strong, the Beast Mortos. There was a couple of matches I was like, all right, this is it. All right, no, this is it. But he got you to like the stuff he does inside the ring, the way he cuts promos just makes audiences just kind of fall in love with him. And I got to be honest, I became a huge Mark Briscoe fan. Him dropping the title to Chris Jericho, I didn't like it. I didn't like it whatsoever. Maybe Mark Briscoe is expecting to take some time away from professional wrestling, but I feel like something kind of has to give. But Chris Jericho, and I'm not trying to throw shade at Chris Jericho. Overall, I feel like AEW Dynamite, or AEW as a whole, wouldn't be where they were today without Chris Jericho. Obviously, maybe that's a little bit of a an extended hand there. I definitely think he played a pivotal role once when AEW was starting to, get their feet off the ground to become a wrestling promotion that was actually worth the damn, kind of watching or, kind of giving a crap for. When a lot of people saw Chris Jericho, it was like, all right, I know this guy from WWE. This guy was, a hot hit. He used to wrestle in WCW. And, Chris Jericho, he's a walking human. He could be a heel. He could be a heel, and he can be the greatest heel in the world. But then he can be a babyface, and you can't help but to like him. You know what I mean? Right now, the kind of character that he has right now is this condescending babyface, where he's a heel, but he's like right in your face. Kind of heel where he's like, you know what? I know people hate me, so I'm gonna soak up all the criticisms. I'm gonna soak up all the backhanded compliments, and I'm like, oh, thanks, guys. Thank you. Oh my God, I love you too. Like, you know what I mean? Like, so, it's a different approach of, how Ring of Honor will be kind of dictated through the shows. I gotta be honest, it does kind of open up different storylines through Ring of Honor because Mark Briscoe was a babyface. He was a babyface, and now Chris Jericho, who plays a babyface, but in reality, he's a heel with Big Bill, with Brian Keith. So this obviously opened up a whole new bevy of storylines of maybe potential superstars that could hold the Ring of Honor World Championship. Maybe this is just. They were like, you know what, Mark Briscoe, and he did. He had a great run as the Ring of Honor World Heavyweight Championship title holder, but anybody going against Chris Jericho is going to be heavily favored. They're going to be easily marketable as the babyface, and if they win, their career literally jumps off overnight. So maybe they might have some plans with the younger superstar winning the championship, but obviously that's going to be probably foretold within the next couple of months here. All right, so next we have the Gates of Agony. Khan and Toa Leona defeated the infantry, and I gotta be honest, I'm a little surprised. Right now you have Gates of Agony just running rampant all over Ring of Honor and also AEW. The leader of Gates of Agony, obviously Brian Cage. He's the new Ring of Honor World Television Champion, and the infantry, trying to get their feet off the ground, trying to show that they are still a worthy enough tag team kind of competitor. They kind of remind me of like of the New Day on Monday Night Raw. Like, you know what I mean? They're not so much of of a past thought that they should not be, appreciated for being a great tag team with the snap of their fingers. Obviously they're in every match. They could win the titles, but ultimately it's not that they get in each other's way. And sometimes things, obviously what's going on with Ring of Honor right now, I feel like they're kind of highlighting a lot of the heels right now. But I don't know, the infantry, obviously they're great inside the ring. I would have no opposition for them winning the tag team championships. But I don't know, it's just I don't know, it's just kind of crazy. Obviously, like the champions, you have the baby faces, so maybe that's the reason why they didn't pick up the dub. That's the only logical reason why I feel like they didn't pick up the dub tonight. Moving on, we have Reina Isis defeats Viva Van. I feel like Viva Van, kind of she's a great wrestler. She's a great wrestler. She needs. I don't really think she needs much of a push, but I know she kind of seems like she's fallen off lately. Like I don't know if Ring of Honor, the creative team, or the head of executive officer or whatever they do or whatever they have over there is like, you know what, I'm not really high on Viva Van, so we're just going to kind of push her to the wayside, but. Ultimately, I feel like she could be somebody in the future of holding the title, the women's television championship. Don't ever count her out. Layla Hirsch made her Ring of Honor return after being sidelined due to an injury, where she vowed to finally win gold in Ring of Honor. Rocky Romero defeated Brandon Cutler, Lee Johnson, and EJ Unduka defeated Jaya Jwell. I'm just kidding. No, Brett and Brett Hankins. Oh wow! All right, cool. Ring of Honor throwback, Ring of Honor World, Women's Championship match. We have Athena going against Mercedes Martinez via pinfall. Billy Starks was in the ring to welcome Lexi Nier and the Ring of Honor Women's World Champion Athena for Athena's Ring of Honor title celebration for having the longest title run in Ring of Honor history. Nier had a dance team, but Athena was frustrated by the celebration being lackluster and said she wanted, Ja Rule involved before taking offense that no one from Ring of Honor Women's Division was here and that her parents missed out due to a surgery. Athena said that she was not overrated but rather underappreciated and took offense with the crowd and Ring of Honor not appreciating her before saying that it was all Billy Stark's fault. Stark said she was done before leaving the ring and walking out of the arena. Nair introduced a spinner belt, but that led, to Abaddon's appearance. She, raptured Nair under the ring and hit the Black Dahlia on Athena before throwing the celebration cake on Athena. Damn, that's, once again, leading up to a nice little match between Billy Starks and Athena. I feel like if you have to have anybody dethrone Athena, it's got to be Billy Starks. She was a great Ring of Honor World Women's Champion. I got to be honest. She was great. At the time she was with MIT or whatever I think it was MIT. I'm not too sure. Don't quote me on that. I like her. I like her. She's been on a couple of my, women's wrestling power rankings. I feel like she definitely has absolutely everything there is to become a successful professional wrestling, especially in women's division, and she could become the new Ring of Honor World Women's Champion. That's a possibility. That'd be amazing for her, to be honest. Ring of Honor Men's World Television Championship match. Brian Cage defeated Commander, obviously, not much of a surprise because I feel like Brian Cage, he's getting the push that he most definitely deserves. I like Cage. I feel like he's great. Former FTW champion, and it's just kind of cool to kind of see him. Kind of get back into the swing of things because before then it seemed like he was mostly, kind of I don't know. It just didn't seem like it just kind of, didn't really seem like it made sense. All right, so now we're going to talk about some TNA Impact. I'm trying to pull up my notes, and it doesn't necessarily seem like it's gonna happen. Having some technical difficulties. Let's see if I can refresh the screen here. TNA Impact. Sorry, excuse me. And doesn't really seem like I'm getting any Wi-Fi here. You gotta love it once when technology ultimately fails you. Uh, kind of like a middle finger, kind of like a Stone Cold Steve Austin middle finger to basically it's supposed to help us, but it's not. I'm just kidding. No, moving on. Okay, so we're gonna talk about some TNA Impact. The Call Your Shot Scrambler, Frankie Kazarian, versus AJ Francis, Sammy Callahan, Laredo Kid, Jake Something, and Jason Hooch. The winner was AJ Francis. The former digital media champion. I don't hate this. I feel like AJ Francis, he's a huge, but then again, I don't know. I just don't feel like people dislike him. And he's a heel, but at the same time, whenever I seem like, whenever I watch his promos, I know he just seems like he's kind of like he's kind of like a dude out there, kind of like a Braun Breaker on Monday Night Raw. He was like, and I'm going to try to win some championships, and if I have to insult the fans here, I'm just kidding, no. But if I have to do it here and there, it's okay. It's okay. But AJ Francis is, he was a he'd be a great, obviously you had two baby faces going at Bound for Glory. Frankie Kazarian, who, he will draw. He's at the number one spot because he lost the match. Josh Alexander defeated Jonathan Grisham. Alexander, once again, haven't really heard too much of his talks with his TNA contract. Thinking about maybe possibly leaving TNA, which I think would be a giant mistake. I would love to see TNA, executive officers to kind of go after him and, get this contract done. Wendy Chu with Rosemary defeats Jody Threat. The system, um, you know, are defeated by the Hardys and some ABC action. We also had this contract signing, and it's, I feel like Joe Hendry was, although, he was sitting with Jordan Grace. He was sitting with Jordan Grace and her challenger, Masha Slamovich. And then when Frankie Kazarian obviously, entered the contract signing. And it just, I don't know, it just didn't really necessarily seem like, I personally don't think it's going to be a big, like, caliber main event with Frankie Kazarian as the special guest referee. We talked about it yesterday, and I was like, you know what? Leaving Kazarian as the special guest referee, I feel like ultimately kind of hurts both superstars, more or less Joe Hendry. And this might be like like an out. It'd be like, you know what? We need to keep the title on Nick. Joe's going to be a future. He's young. He's talented. He's an international wrestling sensation, and he's well known without the with throughout the entertainment industry. So but then I just would I don't know. I just love to see Joe Hendry win. Like, you know what I mean? Like, Nick Nemeth picked up he picked up his TNA World Heavyweight Championship at TNA Slammiversary. But I don't know. I'm a Joe Hendry guy. Like I said, maybe I'm blinded by my fandom here. But overall, I just want it to be a good match. I don't want the match to end up with someone being screwed by Frankie Kazarian. I'm just I'm done with that. I feel like that'd be awful. All right, guys. So hey, do not go anywhere. We're gonna jump on into our third segment. We have some NXT Halloween Havoc happening on Saturday, and we're gonna talk about that when we return. So hey, do not go anywhere.
Looking for your daily fix of sports talk without having to pay for it? GSMC Sports Network is available on YouTube. Just search GSMC Sports Network. Get your fix of daily sports talk shows on YouTube, absolutely free. NFL, college football, NBA, MLB, MMA, UFC, fantasy football, and so much more. GSMC Sports Network has shows running all day long, with new sports shows starting every 2 hours. Just like on your favorite cable sports channel, except GSMC Sports Network is absolutely free. Just search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube to catch one of your new favorite shows, like the GSMC College Football Podcast, Chip Shot Football Podcast, Hoops and Heels Women's Sports Podcast, GSMC Basketball Podcast, and so many more. Check it out for yourself. GSMC Sports Network, now available on YouTube absolutely free. Search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube right now.
All right, we are back with the GSMC Wrestling Laureate podcast brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. I'm your host, Eric Rodriguez, here every Monday through Friday, 8 p.m. Pacific Time, 11 p.m. Eastern Time, here on the GSMC Sports Network to talk about the greatest thing in the world, professional wrestling. We talk about all the action inside and outside of the ring, backstage, curtain calls, rumors, and drama. We talk about superstar, inactive statuses, injury updates, contract negotiations, extensions, and new signings. We talk about promotions from AEW to WWE, TNA to Ring of Honor. We also talk about Stardom, GCW, the NWA, the CMLL, and makes major news in the world of professional wrestling. We talk about it here on this show, 1010%. So make sure you guys tune into the GSMC Sports Network Monday through Friday, 8 p.m. Pacific Time, 11 p.m. Eastern Time. All right, so without further ado, let's talk about some NXT Halloween Havoc. So it should be pretty badass. I am super excited to watch this. Although I do go to work tomorrow and it sucks. They are live at the Giant Center in Hershey, Pennsylvania, and it's a pretty awesome match card. It seems like there's only 5 matches. Wow. Or I could be I couldn't could be looking up the wrong website. But yeah, let's go and dig on into it. I think this will be the first match to kind of kick things off here. I think we're going to see the Women's North American Championship, Kaylani Jordan defending against one of the members of Fatal Influences. Obviously, last episode of NXT, they spin the wheel and it was Spinner's Choice. Bam, what was it? Aria? I think it was Aria. Oh, damn it! I mispronounced her name. But she recently made her debut in NXT. A lot of people did not see it because of the booking of CW. Obviously, there's a lot more stricter guidelines. I feel like it was the 10 o'clock news, popped up, and a lot of fans didn't see her make her debut. Maybe she finds a way to kind of kind of involve herself and try to get a title shot for Kaylani Jordan's Women's North American Championship, which would make the most sense. Which would make the most sense why she would, come out during this time because people gunning after the NXT World Women's Champion Roxanne Perez. You have Julia, you have Stephanie Vaquer. So I feel like that slot is kind of close. You have two matches, obviously, with one with Vaquer and one with one with she did have one with Julia, but it was ultimately because of Cora Jade. It wasn't really to the expectation of a lot of wrestling fans. But I don't know, it's a possibility that, they can run it back. They can run it back, especially heading toward WrestleMania season, where it's the most unpredictable time of the season, especially in terms of, NXT. A member of Fatal Influences basically was, determined to take a shot at Kehlani Jordan's Women's North American Championship. Um, I think it has to be at this point JC Jane. It has to be JC Jane. I love Jasmine Nix. I feel like she's one of the younger, she's probably I feel like isn't she the youngest of Fatal Influence? I'm not too sure. Don't quote me on that. Fallon Henley as well. But I feel like the leader has been JC Jane. So the only thing that makes sense, but then you saw JC and you saw Fallon Henley fighting Stephanie Vaquer and Julia on last Tuesday's episode of NXT. So possibly this could Jasmine Nix. I'm not saying that any matches that she would have would be dog crap or anything like that, but she doesn't really give off that main event vibe. You know what I mean? But then again, it is a mid card belt. Kehlani Jordan, babyface. Roxanne Perez, a heel. The Dawn of NXT babyface. In terms of title holders, Nathan Frazier and Axiom babyface. I wouldn't mind another heel. I wouldn't mind another heel champion. But if you put a championship belt within the structure of the Fatal Influences, I feel like it would just kind of, one of them would want to, attack the other, kind of like, like a Triple H, Batista, Randy Orton kind of evolution kind of feel. Obviously, that's where I feel like. Obviously, it's a huge comparison. I'm not doubting the athletic capabilities or the future of these women because I feel like NXT Women's Division is definitely one of the, if not the best in professional wrestling. So all in all, who do I choose? It's probably going to be JC Jane. It has to be JC Jane. If they're looking for someone to take a bump, if they're looking for a spot for for someone to be like, okay, Kehlani Jordan, spinner's choice, JC Jane, probably do something with anything goes, absolutely anything goes. Where she incorporate, handicap match. What if that happens? Like, what if she's like, you know what, spinner's choice, let's do a handicap match. Or they do, maybe she's like, hey, screw it, we'll do a fatal four-way match where us and you take on the Fatal Influence and Kehlani Jordan's kind of like the odd man out there. But then during the match, you have each woman, kind of backstab each other a little bit, and then, Kehlani Jordan is able to pick up the victory to retain the championship, leaving Fatal Influence to be like, why would you do that? Just like, you know what I mean? I don't know. I just feel like spinner's choice. Like I said, we don't know what the match is going to be. But I don't know. It's crazy. It's super crazy. Okay, next we have an ambulance match between Ridge Holland and Andre Chase of Chase U. This rivalry, I feel like at this point, I feel like it needs to end. Well, how they're going to have this happen, there's a couple of possibilities. A lot of people have been speculating throughout the wrestling news media. I read a couple articles saying that maybe you're going to see somebody from Chase U come to WWE Monday Night Raw during the Netflix, debut on that show, which is going to be blockbuster. It's been told that that show's going to be PLE event worthy caliber. Ticket sales. It's going to be, a lot of big spots, a lot of big bookings. Obviously, the first episode on Netflix is going to basically dictate the future of Monday Night Raw. And that the show has to be huge. It has to be huge. But, despite that rumor that one of the Chase U members are going to be leaving, Rich Holland, maybe he gets some help from Pete Dunne, but in an ambulance match, you have to have Chase U kind of make a difference. Not make a difference. That's the wrong wording. Kind of stake their claim as like, hey, like we can kind of be hardcore as well. Maybe you see Duke Hudson come out. Maybe you see Riley Osborne come out as well. And all four of them kind of get their revenge on Ridge Holland and, forcing him to be carried away, within an ambulance. Because at this point, the way Ridge Holland has been running through the roster of Chase U, it just does it. What's the purpose of him winning this match? Like, to be honest, what's the purpose? We already saw Andre Chase get his arse kicked. We already saw him getting carried away in a stretcher and an ambulance. So it's like we already got the other side of that coin. Why do it again? Like, there has to be. I feel like that's the reason why Rich Holland's gonna lose. Like Chase U is gonna rid their Rich Holland problem, and it wouldn't surprise me if you see Rich come back to WWE. Maybe him and Pete Dunne state their claim in a tag team heading towards SmackDown or Monday Night Raw. Obviously, Pete Dunne is a Raw superstar. But, that's what I would do. Like, if you have Ridge win again, it's just, I don't know. It's just, then again, if it's like, obviously, total conspiracy theory here. This is kind of going way, 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 way off the grid. What if, like, Andre Chase is betrayed by Duke Hudson? Maybe he's kicked out of Chase U and they're like, let's build a Chase U around Ridge Holland. Obviously, that would be completely stupid and pointless, but you have to exercise every possibility. I'm just kidding. No, but I don't think that's a huge possibility. Next, we have Julia. Julia teaming up with Stephanie Vicure, taking on the NXT Women's Champion Roxanne Perez and Cora Jade. When Cora Jade basically stated that she joined NXT, she came back to NXT, and she was, at the same time kind of showing signs that she wasn't necessarily a fellow, or she wasn't necessarily in alliance with Roxanne Perez. The moment she was going to say something, like, she was cut off. She was cut off. And, maybe this might be kind of hinting at something going forward. Maybe we're going to see a fatal four-way match heading toward NXT's next PLE. Obviously their next, big show's going to be at the 2300 Arena in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, the home of Extreme Championship Wrestling. And that's going to be a big event as well, so it's on a Wednesday, obviously going head to head with AEW Dynamite. But, obviously Julia and Stephanie Vicure is going to win this match. It's not really any surprise here. I definitely think it's necessary for, keeping their character intact, keeping this, momentum going, because Shawn Michaels even, he talked about it, on the Busted Open podcast, that the reason why these women's aren't, they're not being pushed as singles wrestlers, and necessarily they're taking babyface, they're taking babyface, they're taking baby steps with them, because there's a language barrier, there's a communication, and when you're inside the ring, you got to keep your ears open. You're going to be talking to the superstar. You're going to be talking about the spots that you guys discussed pre-show and been, basically, rehearsing throughout the week. And, sometimes there can be, some mishaps. And when it comes to mishaps, it's, it could be bad for the match. It could be bad for the storyline. It could be bad for the wrestlers who might get injured. So obviously, practice makes perfect. Shawn Michaels doesn't want to be, talking on an HBO, late night sports show, talking about, oh, you had one of your wrestlers get in. Like, no one wants to hear that. So it's, it's good for Shawn Michaels, the, CEO of NXT, to kind of take these necessary, baby steps. North American Championship, going to keep this one brief. Tony D'Angelo taking on Oba Femi right now, but there's no point. That Oba Femi will lose the championship just to regain it. So Tony D'Angelo is going to pick up the victory. Obviously, he has a whole bunch of built-up frustration with Oba Femi for him taking out the family. And then the main event, we have NXT Championship, Trick Williams and Ethan Page, and once again in a Devil's Playground match. I love the fact that Ethan Page he broke down the fourth wall, during his promo on NXT, basically telling Trick Williams, and basically the story of wrestling as a whole. WWE superstars, they have the Performance Center, they had NXT, then they get, then they debut to the main roster. And I'm not trying to crap on any, WWE superstar being like, you guys never struggled, you know what I mean? But Ethan Page, like, basically, brought it into fruition. He brought it into the landscape, being like, I went from independent wrestling organizations to independent wrestling organizations. I had blood, sweat, and tears. during the independent circuits, when you have, when you're in TNA or when you're in AEW or when you're in New Japan Professional Wrestling, like they hit spots like that where, you can have bleeding, and you have to do that to rile up the fans, like I was talking about, on my last episode. Sometimes, these guys wrestle in front of, 500 people, 1,000 people, at most. And then sometimes, if it's big enough, like TNA's getting, you're wrestling in front of, 5,000 people. But WWE, especially in NXT, you're wrestling in front of, you know, obviously if you're at a performance center, it's not that much. But WWE NXT wants to become its own entity. It's going to start selling out arenas. So Ethan Page kind of rubbed it into Trick Williams' face to be like, dude, being brutally honest, dude, I struggled more than you, dude. I'm sorry. You were coddled in WWE. I went out there and made a name for myself outside of a place that, the moment you debut, the moment you win a couple of matches, bam, all of a sudden on Instagram, you get like 20,000, 100,000 likes. Bam, that's it. Trick and, Ethan Page's kind of book, he had to fight for it. And, that's something that I definitely admire for Ethan Page. That's something that that I love about him. When he brought that up, to be honest, I was more or less kind of on the Trick Williams side, but the way Ethan Page approached this promo, I was like, I'm a wrestling fan. He's right. I watch a lot of these wrestlers that do not succeed in WWE and they have to kind of establish themselves elsewhere. Not a lot of people get a shot at the brass ring again. Not a lot of people come back to WWE with flying colors. Like, it just doesn't happen. So, I definitely like the way that Ethan Page brought that up. Trick Williams will probably retain. I feel like he will retain the NXT World Heavyweight Championship, and I feel like Ethan Page will move on. And he's probably, I feel like he'll probably challenge, the Don for the NXT North American Championship along the lines within a couple of months or two, or maybe perhaps, you saw him on Monday Night Raw. If he makes his debut on Monday Night Raw, automatically he's in the main event category. I'm sorry, I feel like he is, or the Intercontinental Championship. Like it's, any show he goes on, he's going to be big. And that's exactly what WWE NXT and Shawn Michaels wanted to do once when they brought him in from All Elite Wrestling. And I feel like ultimately, it served its purpose. It served its purpose. His, NXT title run, although it was brief, well, not that brief, it was, it's a couple months and a half. But it kind of helped Ethan Page kind of establish himself as a WWE superstar, and kind of helps kind of him trail away from like an AEW bust or anything like that. All right, guys. So we're gonna move on. We're gonna talk about Mercedes Moné's top 5 fantasy matches she recently revealed inside of an interview. So we're gonna talk about that when we return. So hey, do not go anywhere.
For the best and latest podcasts available anywhere, go to the podcast app on your cell phone and type in GSMC to access free content-rich podcasts on health and wellness, book reviews, sports, entertainment, relationships, social media, movies, technology, finance, and even weird news. Subscribe and download the GSMC Podcast Network's family of shows, available everywhere podcasts are found.
All right, all right, all right. Welcome back to the GSMC Wrestling Laureate podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. I'm your host, Eric Rodriguez, here every Monday through Friday, 8 p.m. Pacific time, 11 p.m. Eastern time, here to talk about all the action inside and outside of the ring. We talk about backstage curtain calls, rumors, and drama. We also talk about superstar inactive statuses, injury updates, contract negotiations, extensions, and signings. We talk about promotions from WWE to AEW to TNA to Ring of Honor if it makes major news in the world of professional wrestling. We talk about it here on this show 1,010%. So make sure you guys tune in. All right, so gonna reflect on what we talked about right quick. We had our WWE Smackdown preview. We talked about my Thursday night wrestling review, Ring of Honor, TNA. And then we talked about NXT Halloween Havoc, and now we're going to talk about Mercedes Moné's top 5 fantasy Matches. All right, so let's go ahead and dig on into it. In the latest issue of Monet Mag, Mercedes Moné named her top 5 fantasy opponents. Monet also took things a step further and explained why each match would be big for her personally. All right, so we should probably start at number 5. Should we start at number 5? All right, let's start at number 5. Number 5, she got Athena. I feel like Athena would kick her out. I'm just kidding. No, I'm just kidding. Athena, and she basically said, they say, fantasies can't come true, only dreams can. On that note, a dream match would be against Athena. Only had 2 matches with her, but they have been multi-woman matches. I think she's an incredible talent. Like the others, I've never seen a woman do things that she's done before. She also has, she also seems to love it just as much as I do. I think if I'm given the chance and opportunity, we would have one of the greatest matches ever. And I do agree. I feel like that would be amazing for Mercedes Monet, mostly because Athena's amazing. She's great. I might be a little high on Athena more than Mercedes Monet, but both of these superstars, they are that talented, and they were in WWE, obviously both in NXT, moving their way up to the main roster. But just kind of, I think these guys are the same age. I think they might be the same age, but it would be a great match. It'd be a great match. I feel like Mercedes Monet a little bit more finesse. Maybe obviously the submission, the bank statement. What was the bank statement? And then you have Athena who could absolutely dictate the tempo of like a ring general kind of thing. And she's pretty bulky. She's slender. Looks like she can, maybe bench press 350. I'm just kidding. No, maybe, just maybe. You don't know at the end of the day. But having Athena have a match against Mercedes Monet, that would be pretty badass. At number 4, she says Mickey James, and she said this. What can I say? I loved her versus Trish Stratus' storylines. Growing up, I was so inspired by it. I never saw a woman's storyline that I liked. Basically, what made it even more incredible was that it lasted for an entire year, which seemed unheard of in terms of the women's division, which was actually kind of cool that she acknowledged that. They even had an amazing WrestleMania match. I was only a teenager then, but they truly inspired me. So Mickey makes the last for sure. Mickey James during her run, I gotta be honest, I was a Mickey James fan. I gotta be honest, I was. Especially during 2000 and late 2006, early 2007, where she kind of came in as this obsessed Trish Stratus fan. And it just made sense. It just made sense her knocking off Trish Stratus. But if you watch the Vince McMahon documentary, I guess Trish was ultimately punished by a spot she did not want to do, and Vince McMahon gave the championship to Mickey James during that spot. But they had good matches. They had good promos and stuff like that. Obviously, back in the day, it wasn't professional wrestling the one we have here in terms of the women's division as well. After the women's, revolution and the pre-women's revolution that a lot of people don't really, acknowledge. During the time where Trish, Victoria as well, and Lita and a couple other names. There was a point where they wanted to put on grade A matches, but with their trainer Finley, he was like, you know what, I'm gonna go out there and I'm gonna teach these girls how to do, basically do what the men do. But then WWE creative was like, no, they don't want to see the women do that. Obviously, it just kind of blew up from there, which was bad, which was really, really bad. But kind of acknowledging Mickey James and how she made such an impact on WWE. I like that. I feel like Mickey James was highly underrated inside the WWE squared circle. I feel like once when she left WWE, not really truly appreciated. People still kind of contemplate on the rumors with her and the whole John Cena romance. That's the reason why, she kind of got canned. Right now, I think she's married to Nick Aldis. I think she is the WWE Smackdown general manager. I I'm pretty sure. Like, don't quote me on that. Obviously, gotta fact check that one. But I don't know. Mickey James was always good for professional wrestling. She was, that she got her babyface spot where people actually loved her as a champion. She's I don't know if any of you guys heard her voice. She actually went to like, where she would like release the country music. Like, I think it was a song or an album. I think it might have been an album, but it was actually pretty good. A multi-talented woman inside the ring. She was exciting to watch. She was very exciting to watch. And when her and Trish had their feud, it was absolutely phenomenal, like Mercedes Moné mentioned during this interview. So that would be an interesting match between her and Mickie James. All right, number 3, we got Trish Stratus. Well, there's not much to say that Trish Stratus is absolutely amazing. Basically, one of the best women's wrestler of all time. She's in the WWE Hall of Fame. Not much of a surprise there as well. She endured a lot of BS. She endured a lot of BS, when she came into the WWE, and then during this, with the storylines with Vince McMahon and her making out in front of Linda McMahon, and when she was in a wheelchair, it was tough. It was a lot of tough spots that Trish Stratus ultimately felt like, at that point, you basically, you had to say yes to whatever Vince kind of wanted to do. And, Vince McMahon was willing to do anything in terms of the storyline. Absolutely anything. Cross any boundaries just to piss the fans off. And for the most part, it worked. It worked, but, sometimes the way that, the degrading of women, it's like I said, that, wrestling back in the day, and I don't want to, don't really want to rub anybody the wrong way, but it was kind of bullcrap. It was kind of bullcrap, but, at that point in time, it was like, okay, this is what you need to do to be successful. This is what you have to be like for Vince McMahon to, give you more television time, kind of structure a contract and a schedule that basically fits your needs. Like, you know what I mean? We're all working, we're all working people. We're all working people where we go out, we make a living, we have to, make money for our family, we have to, roof over our head, food, we pay bills and stuff like that. So a lot of times these women's wrestlers were like, you know what? I got bills to pay. Why not? F it. Like, screw it. Like, whatever. Like, let's just do it. Let's make it happen. And I feel like, everything that's happened with Trish Stratus and her career, definitely, one of my most favorite wrestlers, women's wrestlers of all time, definitely got to be Trish Stratus. So that would be an interesting match. That would be a very interesting match. At number 2, I got Kyoko in Inoue, and she said this. She said, because I grew up watching Toyota, my second dream match would have to be one of the best opponents, Kyoko Inoue. She was a wrestler that I've looked up to, and when I see her wrestle, I am always in awe as well. And at number 1, we have Manami. Manami, dang it. All these, oh God. I'm uncultured, guys. Okay, moving on. Naomi Toyota. When I watched her, I was in awe. I could not believe a woman could wrestle like that or perform the way she performed, not to mention that she could do so in many matches that lasted 30 minutes or longer. She was way, way before her time in, my number in terms of the number 1 fantasy match. And, that could play for a lot of wrestlers. That could play for a lot of women's wrestlers that, Mercedes Moné mentioned during this list. And also probably a lot of them that were, kind of, not on this list, But overall, I feel like it was a great list. Mercedes Moné, the TBS champion. Obviously, she's also the New Japan Women's Strong champion as well. So, she has a promising start in AEW. Obviously, she was signed back in March, where she I think it was Big Business. I think it was. I'm not too sure. Don't quote me on that. But I don't know. Just overall, it's just kind of cool to kind of get an insider, kind of get a wrestling's perspective on exactly be like, oh, that'd be because a lot of wrestling fans are like, oh, what's your top 5 matches? Who's on your Mount Rushmore wrestlers? So it's always cool to kind of see from a different perspective as well. All right, so now we're going to move on to our 5th and final segment. We're going to talk about some Friday night wrestling news. We're going to round that up when we return. So, hey, do not go anywhere. All right, and welcome back to the GSMC Wrestling Laureate podcast brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. I'm your host, Eric Rodriguez, here every Monday through Friday, 8 p.m. Pacific time, 11 p.m. Eastern time. We're here to talk about everything in the world of professional wrestling, all the action inside and outside of the ring, backstage curtain calls, drama, rumors, and basically anything, even in terms of superstar inactive statuses, injury updates, contract negotiations and signings and all that kind of cool stuff. And obviously, we talk about promotions from WWE to AEW to New Japan Professional Wrestling. Dishonor if it makes major news in the world of professional wrestling. We talked about it here on this show, 1010%. All right, so we're going to talk about some news surrounding the professional wrestling industry. First and foremost, we have a rumor going around that we're going to see a Liv Morgan. No, not Liv Morgan. Sorry, excuse me. We're going to see a Rhea Ripley taking on Dominic Mysterio. Match. I'm not high on that. I'm not really high on that. I get it that you want these two to kind of settle their beef out, but then again, there's always been this kind of unwritten rule in professional wrestling that the men don't take on the women. For a little while there, it was, it was just fitting. They did have that tournament. Damn, it was like quite some time ago where it was like an intergenders, like a tag team match. It was like a tournament, which was actually pretty badass. I like that. But, I don't know, I just feel like I don't know, it just wouldn't make sense, you know, and especially during, and I'm not trying to get political or anything like that. It's not really, in terms of society today, with this whole thing with and once again, maybe I should move on from this. I don't want to ruffle any feathers. But anyways, I'm totally not into, I don't want to see a match with Dominic Mysterio taking on Rhea Ripley because, Rhea Ripley's just going to go out there and kick his ass. And then, that would be that. So what's the point of kind of seeing that? You know what I mean? But, there's no doubt in my mind that Rhea Ripley would, she has the talent, she has the strength to kind of, kick his butt. So, yeah, 1010%. All right, so Shelton Benjamin would love a WWE Hall of Fame induction. Does this, I don't know. Shelton Benjamin has been within the WWE landscape for quite some time. For quite some time, you know, I don't necessarily hate it because I love Shelton Benjamin. Shelton Benjamin was one of my favorite wrestlers heading into 2006. He was in 2000. I remember, with the greatest tag team, him and Charlie Haas, in this faction with Kurt Angle. That's kind of, that kind of kick started his career. But after that, he kind of faded off. He was a couple times he was Intercontinental Champion, and then that was basically it. And doesn't necessarily mean that you need to have all these accolades and accomplishments and championship title runs to be a part of a Hall of Fame induction kind of thing. If you kind of compare it to the NFL, there's still hate on maybe the potential that Eli Manning might be inducted into the NFL Hall of Fame. Like, and there's a couple of the superstars as well. Superstars that are like, yeah, they won, but they're not NFL worthy. A lot of people. I don't know if what is Dan Marino as well. Never won a Super Bowl. I feel like he's in the Hall of Fame. It's kind of the mark they left on the business they were performing in really kind of ultimately dictates if you decide to kind of get that that golden jack or whatever you want to say. Shelton Benjamin definitely, he paid his dues in WWE. He paid his dues, but I don't know if he's ever really done anything so extravagant enough to be a WWE Hall of Famer. I would say probably the same for Bobby as well. And it's nothing. It's not an indictment on them or their skills or the fact that they couldn't do what it takes to be a WWE Hall of Famer. They never got the chance. They never got the shots. So you can't really take that away from them. All right, next, Cody Rhodes calls for Conor McGregor, the UFC fighter, to make a WWE crossover. He said this, and I quote, "I think he'd be great at it." And I think he would be. I give that 1010%. Conor McGregor, in terms of WWE, and UFC, he riles the people up. He gets them so pissed off. He knows how to intimidate the other fighters. He can cut good promos. 1,010%. He's kind of on the older side. I think he even said in an interview with his wife that he's probably never going to fight in the UFC. Obviously, if there's a match that he's like, you know what, let me get my hands on it. Like, you know what I mean? Maybe that could possibly be something. But you've seen a lot of Irish, like, MMA fighters or combat sports superstars kind of make their jump inside of professional wrestling. Conor McGregor would kind of be, no different. I feel like he would definitely get a huge push because of, the TKO holdings, UFC, president Dana White. I feel like it'd be a match made in heaven. I feel like it would be great. I feel like he would be automatically like kind of like maybe like a Logan Paul, kind of status where, he posts on social media constantly, kind of blurring the lines of reality and fiction in terms of professional wrestling using TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, whatever it takes, to kind of build up your matches. And that's something I feel like Conor McGregor would be absolutely. He'd be great. He'd be great 1,010%. And I don't know. I don't know. It would be awesome. Would be awesome. Also, Cody Rhodes is in the news again, commenting that he's confident that Lillian Garcia taking over, it will be awesome taking over for Samantha Irving. You know, Nothing against Lillian. Like, I grew up watching Lillian Garcia, and I thought, anybody to take the place of the young, uprising and her peak Samantha Irving, it would probably be Lillian Garcia. So obviously nothing, kind of taking her away from that. She did botch a total of three, announcements on WWE Raw. But of course, first time being back, it's kind of shake off the cobwebs a little bit there. Samantha Irving, obviously, a lot of people can't really take the position that she's ultimately kind of taken, but just her chemistry with all the other wrestlers inside the ring is uncanny. It's uncomparable. It's uncomparable. When you saw Samantha Irving in there, she had the respect of her peers. She was, and then when you saw Lillian Garcia get a fist bump from Jey Uso, I feel like it didn't necessarily get that same, I don't know, didn't really get that same bump. Didn't really get that same bump. So I don't know. It's kind of crazy, but it should be pretty crazy. Should be pretty interesting. Next, we have Maria Kanellis. Maria Kanellis is still in the hospital after her surgery. And, basically, I feel like her wrestling career, return to Ring of Honor, is not really, in the books or, in the future of her because, you got to take care of yourself. I remember Maria, during, like I said, during that 2006, 2007 run where she was kind of like this ditzy, backstage announcer, ring announcer. And, I thought she was great. I thought the position that she played was pretty cool. I remember seeing her getting angle slammed on Monday Night Raw by Kurt Angle. And I was like, dang. And then John Cena, of course, had to come out and, be, kind of like the savior, like you know what I mean, which is exactly what John Cena was supposed to do. That's exactly what it was like. You know what? Let's have John Cena go out there and he's gonna save this damsel in distress. Let's just do it to get people to love themselves from Shawn Michaels. All right, not to kind of be a little bit of a spoiler alert, but obviously I'm looking up a couple of these storylines or looking up a couple of these of wrestling breaking news, and it's been confirmed that Randy Orton will take on Cody Rhodes and will take on excuse me, Kevin Owens at WWE Crown Jewel. I am not really that, I feel like it'd be great. I did not want to see Kevin Owens go so totally heel that to the point where it's kind of, beyond recognition. But it is what it is. It is what it is in WWE. Kind of has to, run on from that. So, it should be interesting to find out how Randy Orton and Kevin Owens kind of approach their storylines here because this is big. This could definitely be the future, the next couple of months, maybe even a year of where their character direction is, or where it's going. So, should be exciting. I can't wait to watch Monday Night Raw. Obviously, I have it recorded. I'm still a shlomo who pays for cable like YouTube TV. I got it recorded. I know it's already aired on the East Coast, but I have not checked. Actually, I lied. No, I have checked. No, I did not check a single shred of social media, TikTok, Instagram, or Facebook. I'm kind of looking on a couple of these wrestling websites, and I'm like, oh dang, That's crazy. Oh, that's crazy. Oh my God. I'm just kidding. No, but I don't know. It's it's just I don't know. WWE professional wrestling is it's a giant trip. It's super cool. Obviously it's been a huge part of my life and kind of, who I am as a person. I can't go through the day, without being like, do you smell? You can't see, like, you do these goofy, dorky lines that professional wrestlers do, and you're like, dude, like, I'm sorry, I'm a wrestling fan. What can I say? All right, guys. Well, hey, that's it for me. Sorry for holding you guys 15 minutes over 9 o'clock, but it seems like that's just how this podcast goes. Don't go anywhere. In 15 minutes, we will have Emran's GSMC Soccer podcast. So if you're looking into getting into soccer, or if you're a huge soccer fan, make sure you guys tune into his podcast. We also have a lot of other podcasts. Thank you so much for tuning into the GSMC Wrestling Laureate podcast brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. Just remember to Superman punch that like and subscribe button to the show. Also follow us on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter/X, and Facebook for more content and updates. Like I always say, if I have not made you a wrestling fan by now, we have all these podcasts. We have All Around Sports. Find out everything that's happening during the World Series with my man Jeremy with Sports by GSMC, and also the greatest man I know, TJ, with GSMC Sports. Make sure you tune into their shows. We also got basketball starting off hot. We have Nelson with the GSMC Basketball Podcast. And of course, when you think about Sundays, you think about the NFL. We got 2 football podcasts with all the hot breaking news, all the content that you guys want to swallow up faster than anything you've ever done in your whole entire life. We got Manny with the Chip Shot Football Podcast. We have the GSMC Football Podcast with Kenneth, and we have college football podcasts as well. We have the GSMC College Football Podcast with my boy Tommy. And of course, in terms of college and the NFL, football, there is fantasy sports. I have a couple of fantasy leagues. Not the brag, but I'm like a solid 6th place. I don't want to, I don't want to seem like I'm, like I'm above you guys, but I'm just gonna, but 6th place sucks. But if you want to find out your stardoms, your situms, who to pick up off the waiver wire, if you want your team in your fantasy league to be a WWE champion, like the American Nightmare, like the Ring General Gunther, tune into the GSMC Fantasy Sports Podcast with my boy Chris Shepard to find out how you guys could be as successful as Rhodes, Roman Reigns, freaking Gunther. I'm just kidding. Well, obviously being a little dork about the wrestling word on play, but tune into the podcast if you have a fantasy sports podcast. It's pretty cool. He gets a lot of a lot of interactions with him and the fans. Fans have questions, and he's able to use this prestige to answer, to the best of his abilities and to help any fantasy sports player achieve greatness. So make sure you guys tune into that. Well, like I said, hope you guys had an amazing Friday. Hope you guys have a safe, fun, and blessed weekend with your family and your loved ones. Stay beautiful, but most importantly, love you.
Let's go. I wake up to a little bit of drool on my pillow, feel like it's gonna be a bad day. Yeah, I'm tired of shit, and the coffee ain't hit yet.